good afternoon, everybody. Before we start, let me ask one question. Do you know what is the Russia and the Ukraine war is? I think most of you might know what it is. However, how much do you know? Today, I'll talk about the Russia and the Ukraine war. First, what is the Ukraine war? It is a war between Russia and the Ukraine. It started on February 24th, 2022. Russia first attacked Kyiv, Ukraine's capital, and this meant that Putin, Russia's government and president, declared war on Zelensky, Ukraine's president. If we want to learn more about the war, we must first learn about the history of the two nations. Let's first look at the 9th century. In the 9th century, the two nations had built a country called Kyiv. It was very strong until the 13th century when the Mongolians came and destroyed them. The Mongolians were so strong that they almost conquered Poland. However, when it perished into history, the people we know as Russians built a new country called the Principality of Moscow. As they got bigger, they changed its name into Ruth Charkuk. The people we know as Ukraine built a country called Cossack. However, the two nations were in great danger because Poland, at the time was a very strong country in Europe, was trying to conquer them. So they teamed up and signed a treaty called the Pereslev Treaty. However, Russia, or Ruth Charkuk, betrayed and broke the treaty. Russia took the hand of Poland and together they divided Cossack or Ukraine into two. They each had half of the land. However, in 1772, when Poland's strength began to weaken, Russia took over Poland and including the rest of the half of Ukraine. Ukraine was still fighting for independence. In 1970, Ukraine saw the opportunity to become an independent nation. In 1970, there was the Russian Revolution, and it was also during the World War I. So in 1918, Ukraine got the help from Germany, which fought against Russia. Germany was the only hope for Ukraine. However, that plan became a failure when Germany lost to France in World War I. Now, let's find out why Russia invaded the Ukraine. Russian president claims 3 reasons why. Let's look at them one by one. The first one is the Ukraine's denazification. In World War I, there were many pro-Germans, and still there are many pro-Germans in Ukraine. Russia saw them as Nazis and tried to denazify them by war. The second is the Crimea Peninsula and Donbass. If we look at the 18th century, Crimea Peninsula and the Donbass were both Russia's lands. However, Ukraine took the lands when they got independent. Russia signed a treaty with Ukraine in that Russia will not invade Crimea Peninsula in one condition. Russia can go to Crimea Peninsula's harbor anytime they want until 2042. However, Russia broke the treaty again. In 2014, March 19th, Russia invaded the harbor, and in 2014, March 21st, Russia invaded the whole Crimea Peninsula. They were able to do this because they took the flag on their uniform, took off the flag on their uniform, and only dressed in green so the soldiers in Ukraine wouldn't recognize them as Russians. And people in the harbor called them the Little Green Men. In Donbass, there are 4 million people living there. That's about 0.8% of our whole population. In a small place, there's a lot of people living there. And its GDP, or gross domestic product, which means the total amount of product that have been produced for a year, is Ukraine's 25%. In Donbas, it is very crucial to Ukraine, so Russia needed this. In Donbas, there are many pro-Russians, so Russia used them to keep the other half quiet and to keep them from being independent. And the third and the last reason. This might be very familiar to you guys. It's about blocking Ukraine from signing to NATO and EU. NATO means the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and EU is the Europe Union. The reason why Russia blocked Ukraine from signing into this is that most of the Europe's countries signed to NATO and EU. However, Russia didn't sign in, so if Ukraine also signed into these organizations, then it will only bring Russia disadvantages. Because of that, Russia threatened Ukraine by using nuclear weapons on them if they become a part in these two organizations. Because of this, the price in Ukraine rose dramatically. For example, if you buy the same bread in Korea and Ukraine, in Korea you can buy it by only 1,000 wons. However, in Ukraine you have to pay 100,000 wons. Because of this, the economy in Ukraine was unstable. And Ukraine threatened Russia by blocking the gas supply that went through Ukraine to Europe. That was a huge threat to Russia because if Ukraine blocks the gas supply, then Russia wouldn't get the gas to Europe, and that will be a great loss to Russia too. Now we learned that why Russia invaded Ukraine. Let's talk about how did Zelensky, Ukraine's president, became the president. Zelensky wasn't always a politician. He was a comedian and an actor. His most famous movie is Servant of the People. It is about an ordinary people becoming a president. There were some difficulties, but he overcame it and became a president that everyone loves. However, there's one interesting fact about it. 3 years after this movie has been released, Zelensky became the president. It's like the movie had predicted the future. Now let's talk about the situation of the war now. First, Russia attacked the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, then the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Russia did this to cut the electricity of Ukraine. And then Ukraine attacked the Mariupol theater. This is the picture of the Mariupol theater after it had been destroyed. This word means children. Except for this word, everything was destroyed. More than 1,000 people, including children, were hiding there. They were safe until Ukraine blew it up, and everyone didn't make it in time. And there are some words about North Korea sending troops to Russia to help win the fight. Now I prepared some quizzes about my presentation. Let's get started. Question number 1. The war has ended. Number 1, yes, or number 2, no.
Number 2.
Yes. Question number 2. What is the title of the movie Zelensky acted in?
The Servant of the People.
Yes. The answers are number 1, the war hasn't ended yet and is still happening today. So the answer is number 2. And question number 2, the movie Zelensky acted in is called Servant of the People. I hope the Russia and the Ukraine war ends quickly, and I hope that the war will never happen in South Korea. And I will also have to say thank you to Hailing, who has been here with us since last Friday. I miss her so much, and I know that she'll be watching this. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Okay.